All right, so if you're a level 4 associate project manager apprentice, you've probably come across Knowledge Standard K3. And let's be honest, it can feel a bit theoretical, right? All this talk about the links between projects, programs, and portfolios. What does that actually mean when you're on the job? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down and make it super simple. So let's meet Jody. She's a level 4 apprentice, and you might see a bit of yourself in her. Her coach, Olivia, has just given her the next big challenge, getting to grips with K3. Now, she knows it's a must-pass part of her apprenticeship, but right now, it kind of feels like a bit of a head-scratcher. But here's the good news. We're going to follow Jody's story step by step. By watching how she figures it all out, you'll get a really clear, practical guide to mastering this knowledge, building killer evidence, and just completely acing that final assessment. Okay, so where does Jody start? Well, her first stop is her mentor, Adam. He knows that the best way to get your head around these big, abstract ideas is to start with a really simple analogy. His goal is to turn all that textbook jargon into something that actually makes sense in the real world. First step, the project. So Adam explains that a project is just a temporary gig to create one specific thing. He says, think of it like baking a single whiting cake. Simple, right? It's got a definite start, a clear end, and one very specific output. One big, beautiful cake. Okay, so if a project is one cake, what's a program? Well, that's just a bunch of related projects that you manage together. So the program is like catering the entire wedding. You're coordinating the cake project, the 3-course meal project, the venue decoration project, all to deliver a much bigger outcome. One amazing, unforgettable wedding reception. And that brings us to the top level, the portfolio. This is the whole shebang. It's all of an organization's projects and programs put together. In our wedding analogy, this is the catering company's grand strategy for the year. Which events are we going to take on? Which weddings? Which corporate parties? All to hit our big financial goals and boost our reputation. Now, this table is brilliant because it just lays it all out so clearly. Have a look at the focus row. A project is all about a specific output, the cake. The program is about the outcomes, the happy couple and their guests. Then look down at success. A project wins if it's on time and on budget. But a portfolio, its success is all about the strategic value it brings to the entire company. See how the view just gets wider and wider at each level? Okay, so theory is one thing, right? But now it's time to see how this all works in the real world. Jody's line manager, Riddle, puts her on a project that's part of a massive company-wide mission at Ivis Stores, the Digital Transformation Program. And this is where Case 3 stops being theory and gets very, very real. See, Jody's running Project Alpha, building a brand new customer portal. But here's the catch. It can't succeed on its own. It is completely 100% dependent on Project Beta, which is all about the data, and Project Gamma, which is handling all of the security. They are all chained together. They are interdependent. And then, you guessed it, something goes wrong. It's the classic project management headache. Jody gets that email. Project Beta has hit a major roadblock. They're going to be delayed by at least 4 weeks. So, what happens now? And this right here is the absolute core of K3 in action. Look at what Jody does. She doesn't just send an email saying, "Help, my project is blocked." No, she thinks bigger. She immediately reports the impact on the entire program. She points out that the financial benefits are now delayed and the whole launch is at risk. This is what seeing the bigger picture looks like. All right, so Jody's identified the problem and its impact. That's great. But how does she turn that into solid gold evidence for her apprenticeship portfolio on APTEM? Let's watch as her mentor, Adam, guides her on exactly what she needs to capture to prove her competence. Now, this is super important. When your assessor looks at your evidence, they're not just looking for a to-do list. They're hunting for proof of these specific things. Are you using the terms project, program, and portfolio correctly? Did you spot and actively manage those dependencies? And, crucially, did you escalate the issue through the proper channels? This is your evidence checklist. And boom, this is what a great piece of evidence looks like. Check out Jody's entry in her risk log. She doesn't just talk about her own project's testing being blocked. She uses the magic words, program-level impact. That one little phrase instantly connects her project's problem to the big picture business goals. Adam's feedback just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That single sentence, the one that explains the wider impact beyond her own project, that is exactly what assessors are looking for. It's clear, it's professional, and it proves she gets it. That, my friends, is K3 gold. Okay, we've got the theory, we've got the practical application, and we've got the evidence. Now for the final boss, the endpoint assessment, or EPA. Jodi's feeling way more confident, and her coach Olivia is firing some typical EPA questions at her to make sure she's ready to shine under pressure. So here's a question you're almost guaranteed to get in some form. The assessor wants to hear a story from your real-world experience. They're testing whether you can connect all that theory to what you actually did. So take a second. How would you answer this? Now look at this model answer. What makes it so good? It's specific and it's active. She names the technical dependency, the API, and then she describes what she did about it. I tracked their milestones. I held weekly meetings. This shows she didn't just sit back and wait. She actively managed the situation. All right, let's try another one. This question is all about looking upwards. The assessor wants to know if you get that your project reports aren't just for your own benefit. They are vital pieces of information that senior leaders use to make huge strategic decisions. And again, this is a brilliant answer. Why? She doesn't just say, I sent a report. She explains that her report quantified the impact on the program's benefits. And here's the killer line. It supported the decision to replan. She's showing her work directly influenced a major strategic choice. That is absolutely top tier. So you can see the journey, right? Jodi went from being a bit lost in the jargon to being totally on top of K3, applying it on the job and explaining it with confidence in her EPA. Her journey gives us a really clear roadmap. So let's break it down into a final checklist that you can use too.
So let's boil it all down. Here's your 6-step plan to absolutely nail K3. Step 1, learn those definitions. Step 2, use an analogy to make them stick. Step 3, get out there and find the real dependencies in your own work. Step 4, always report the wider impact. Step 5, document it perfectly for APFTM. And Step 6, practice telling your story. That's it. That's the path to K3 mastery.
And that brings it all back to you right now. What's the single biggest thing your project depends on? Or who depends on you? The real challenge isn't just knowing the answer. It's thinking about how you are going to communicate the impact of that dependency on the bigger picture in your very next update. That's how you really start to master K3.